Hi, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is Ursula, and today I'm so excited to give a little mini reading to In Tune Cat, also known as Kathy. So I gotta just step back and just say, I was talking to my friend Anne Marie with Starseeds Rising, and we realized it wasn't until like late February of this year when we decided to knock on Julia Balaz's door, and we were surprised when she answered and said, "Hey, yeah, we'll do a little three-person chat about Starseeds astrology." Now, prior to that conversation in late February, one, I was not giving mini readings. Two, I didn't think of myself as an astrologer, just someone who enjoyed listening, especially during the 2.5 years of COVID. Just love looking at the cosmos and the night star. And as a painter, looking at deep stories of metaphor and narratives, trying to understand myself in the great cosmos, right? So when I'm not painting, I'm really tracking tea leaves in a variety of esoteric modalities. I like to say I have this like huge dashboard of alternative ways of looking at oneself in the modern era of 2022. Okay, so that said, I just want to tell you that backstory because if you start getting hooked like I did on looking at these star seeds reports and wanting to understand them, not just for yourself, but your loved ones, then consider using the link in the description to take one of Julia's classes. You don't have to jump right into the practitioner's class. There's a Galactic Astrology course. There's how to connect with your higher self. So she's just a good person coming out of Ireland, and you can just feel her energy is one of deep caring and wisdom. At least that's why I keep chatting about her and her incredible program. All right, back to In Tune Cat. What do we see? Let's look at your Western quote unquote tea leaves in the oh, look at this. I'm going to start a little bit differently. I'm starting right with your star seeds report. Look what we have here. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just going to do a deep inhale and an exhale. What this basic report does on the free astrology online calculator, this is the one I pushed, basic report. These are showing the names of the constellations that you have either incarnated on or have super, super strong affinity with. So strong that I would call these your star families. Now, let's just do a count out of Andromeda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 soul connections to the Andromeda constellation. You've probably heard, Kat, about the Andromedans. Definitely need to check their story out. But look, equally, look how strong the constellation Taurus. All right, Taurus is showing up strongly. You've got the Hyades, Scorpius, 2 major soul connections to Lyra. And then, of course, there's Virgo and Boots. So I just want to say your family is big, okay? Some of us are lucky to have 1 or 2 star connections at this deep level, but it just tells me, pay attention. We're all unique. We're all part of the one source. So, but when we individuated, some of us have been on the road a little longer. At least that's how I like to look at it. Okay, here we are now. I'm going to open this screen up. Here we go. Again, I'm on Astrodienst or astro.com. And here is the Western astrological wheel. Here we go. So what are these tea leaves going to tell us? First of all, let's start with your box over here. Fire, good. Air, good. Earth, none. Water, good, really strong. Strong on air and water. Now, cardinal signs, showing initiative, strong, very strong, strongest. Initiate. Fixed, like how you hold space in Mercury, only one. So more about cardinal energy and mutability. So I'm going to initiate, and then I'm going to, go with the flow. I'm going to hold things not too tightly. All right, so that's your box. No ground here in the major planets. So easy for you, perhaps looking at just this, to get into air, which is high mental and passionate fire, and wonderfully sensitivity and high sensitivity. What do we call that? Sensorial, high sensorial capabilities in water, but very little to no earth. So how do you ground, girlfriend? Okay, so ground, ground, ground. That should be your mantra in this lifetime. All right, so we look at your ascendant, 15 degrees of Libra. Look at your sun. So 15 degrees ascendant, and then the sun is 12 degrees. Well, you got a pile up in the 12th house. You've got Mars, you've got Pluto, and you've got Venus. You've got a pile up in your 12th house in the sign of Libra. Wow, that's a pile up. What does the 12th house say? Basically says, I prefer to stay hidden. Thank you very much. I'm out here. I'm feeling so much. I really need to be left alone. Cave time, creator's cave time is key. Okay, so that's your ascendant and your sun. Whew. Okay, so then let's go look for your beautiful moon. We go around the wheel, and here's your moon. You've got a nice Gemini moon in the 8th house of deep transformation. So this idea of sex, death, and rebirth, having to die to be reborn again. 8th house, moon. And Gemini is about siblings, and it's about, early learning, communications. Where is your north node? Well, it's directly opposite your moon in the 2nd house of Sagittarius. Oh, how beautiful. That's beautiful. So of course, then we go to look at this chart, and your node is sitting at 11 degrees, 53 minutes of Sagittarius. 11 degrees. I have to tell you, I haven't shared this before, but this north node is in conjunction with what we call the Great Attractor. Okay, the Great Attractor in 2000 sits at 14 degrees Sagittarius. So even though it's not showing up on this wheel, because this is not a galactic wheel, in Tune Cat, put these 2 words, Great Attractor. Go find out and Google what that means. Because everyone thinks, oh, the Galactic Center. Yeah, that's the heart of the Milky Way. Here, let me stop sharing for a minute. Most of us think, okay, Galactic Center, check the box. That is like the heart of the Milky Way, the black hole in the center, from which a lot of times we say move to the void, the pure potential of all, the zone in painting. That's typically what we might call metaphorically as the galactic center. Okay, so here's our galaxy, and its center sits at 27 degrees Sagittarius, excuse me. But there's also something called the supergalactic center, SGC, supergalactic center, and that sits at 2 degrees 4 minutes of Libra. It shifts just a little bit, so you have to look at your natal and find out when was the supergalactic center. So it's like, oh my gosh, you got the galactic center, the supergalactic, and guess what? I'm learning all this in Julia's class. There's something called the Great Attractor, and this is like the center of like all these galaxies. I mean, it's so potent. It puts like, okay, you go super strong, and then super, super strong, and then like into a whole other level of like incredibleness. So anyone listening who knows astrology, look at 14 degrees 14 degrees Sagittarius for the great attractor. So Kat, let me go back. I'm just like a little bit in and out today. Maybe I need some earth. So what were we looking at? 14 degrees Sagittarius. And I was looking at your north node or your true node. So see how you were born with 11 degrees, 53 minutes. So I'm going to round that to 12 degrees. So that great attractor is right here, conjuncting your beautiful Neptune, but it's opposing your moon. Okay, so this axis is something that I would have you strongly consider tuning into in whatever way metaphysically you enjoy tuning into. Okay, because astrology, it's about tracking patterns, tracking these beautiful aspects, the geometry of your natal chart and how it's affected with transits. But from the emails that you sent to me, my friend, I'm hoping it's okay to say you're calling in from South Africa. You brought up this idea of Table Mountain in South Africa. Okay, I gotta show everybody. I went on Wikipedia. Here we go. I just want looking for, here's Table Mountain that you mentioned in an email to me, Kat, or Intune, Kat. When I saw this, I saw the whole of it. Like here's Devil's Peak, here's Table Mountain, here's Back Table, and then there's a neck. You mentioned that perhaps this Table Mountain is one of the energy nodal points for Gaia, for the planet. That's awesome. When I saw this, I thought though, oh my gosh, with all of your star seeds, all your star nations and your family, that table of yours needs something like this because you're from so many different star nations, you know, and so it's like you need a huge Table Mountain to bring all your people in. And I'm kind of halfway teasing, but when I look at this is just your, you know, your oppositions and conjunctions. This is your lifetimes and where you've been. Where have you been? You look at all these places. Okay, it gets even more interesting when I hit the extended report. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down. Excuse me while I do this. I know it's a little bit funky on the eyes, but here we go. Look at the wholeness of your interactions. So this is showing your soul connections. And just a reminder to everyone listening, it's not in any order as far as A is better than B connection or C connection. The key thing here is looking at the planet, your sun, your strongest light. We see that you have a Libra sun at 12 degrees, 32 minutes in the 12th house. Okay. But here's who's sitting with you in your sun. So when we look at your most recent lifetime, okay, here we go, your most recent, we're seeing an opposition to Alpheratz. That's a fixed star, Alpheratz. It is at 1 degree, 24 minutes in opposition to your sun. So Alpheratz. And this is a fixed star where I would have you Google Alpheratz starseeds. You're going to find a lot on Andromedan starseeds, but in particular, what are the qualities and characteristics of Alpheratz? Okay, I'm just like looking around at everywhere you've been, and I'm going to now move down the chart to see point of origin. Okay, here we go. We start with Pluto, trine, square, sextile. What we're looking for is oppositions, which we're finding now on your Neptune line, to Hyades, opposition to Aldebaran, and a conjunction to Antares. All right, so now we're looking for the closest. And here we see in Hyades, the constellation Hyades, the fixed star Ain at 0 degrees, 39 minutes, opposing your Neptune in the second house of what you value. Whew. Okay, so here's another homework assignment for you, Kat. Look up starseed AIN, AIN. Okay, I just did a recent reading for someone and I called out a nice little program about Hyadian star seeds. But if you decide to find a book on fixed stars and their mythology, AIM may have a very specific message for you. That is your point of origin, according to this star seeds report methodology, okay? But I would not discount also looking at some people say Aldebaran or Aldebaran and Antares. You have a story that wants to be told. Look at this. I'm just going to take another pause. You mentioned to me, my friend, this idea of Arcturus and sensing and feeling very close to Arcturian energy. Well, let's see. Where is the constellation Boots? We find it all the way down here on your Chiron. This is the wounded healer, a wound that you came in with in the 7th house of one-on-one relationships. Okay, Boots. Here's the only place that Arcturus shows up. Is it showing up in the wound of how you navigate with one-on-one relationships, whether it's marriage, business, a very strong business partnership, or with a therapist? Okay, that's how in-depth this 7th house is asking us to be in the sign of Aries. All right, but when I look at your chart, I'm sensing the blue light that you mentioned that you might see at times, or very specific times. I would encourage you to look into the star seeds Hyades, again Hyadian, because they mention this blue light. So there's various color values of blue: dark blue, light blue, blue. I should stop sharing for a minute as I talk about color. So here's the blue spectrum. You know, we've got blue that bends towards red, you know, and we have blue that bends towards the opposite end, more green. So blue that bends towards red goes towards the violet spectrum, and blue-green is over here. So it's moving towards more the yellow spectrum. So when you say blue light, and I know sometimes in the spectral field, our human eyeballs can only see like this much. Maybe dogs see this much, and some people only see in black and white. But when you get into quantum and opening up some of our quantum organs, multi-dimensional sensory organs that are coming online, you know, what we call blue could actually have a broader spectrum to it. So it may not just be bending towards warm or cool. It could have a whole other meaning. So this blue light, I want to have you consider looking at the star seed Vega. So there's Lyra constellation and then Vega. Vega, because look at your chart. I'm going to go back to your screen. Here we go. Look at on your sun line. Here's Vega squaring. Here's Vega again. Here's Vega again. So, you know, and Lyra is showing up quite a bit. Now, you probably have heard me say before, you've got some ring nebulas and galactic centers. Whew. So this tells me, and here's the Orion Nebula, where you see nebula or galaxy. So there's the Andromeda constellation, but there's the Andromeda galaxy too. We're seeing portals where your soul can travel in and out of, moving from one galaxy to a next. So your dream time, your meditation time, your ability to track and know things multidimensionally are perhaps more in depth than the normal or average person, I would say. So there you go. I'm hoping this was a little bit helpful. Oh, I have one more thing to share. Oh my gosh, this doesn't end. I just get so excited. Okay, when I saw where you were from and where you were most recently, I gotta call this out. Okay, so see, remember we talked about your moon being right across from your north node? This little word AIN, A-I-N, that's the fixed star that you originated at. So it's sitting right next to your beautiful moon in Gemini. Okay, so seriously, you would be a great candidate to start looking at these online courses because you have so much material here that you may want to dissect it one day. And the beauty of the online class is it's self-paced. If you do decide to take the practitioner's course, you get to meet a whole family of people from around the world who are working together to help each other expand and learn. Okay, so I put in AIN, the fixed star AIN, but I also went and I found Alpheratz. Okay, let's see. Now look at ALPH is short for Alpheratz. There's a message here, in Tune Cat, because remember we started the reading with there's a pile up on house 12, Sun, Mars, Pluto, Venus, your light, your strongest light, yourself, your identity, your passion, the depths of Pluto and Venus, the love. It's all opposing on the other side of your seesaw, Alpheratz and Eris. All right, Eris is the goddess of creative chaos. Hope I have that right. She's the sister of Mars. All right, so anyone listening that's already studied astrology and hasn't moved yet into adding the stars back into astrology or fixed stars, you would never see Alpheratz unless you plugged in that specific fixed star. I can do it on astro.com, but I'm telling you, there is a message that is showing up when we add that galactic layer. There's something around this axis of also the ascendant, descendant. This is something very important, and you know, it's calling out because here's your chironic wound and it's opposing your Uranus and all this other pile up here. So I'm just giving you a mini reading. This is probably longer than I would have liked because there's 5 more on the list. It's just so much fun because by you inviting me to practice, I get to research. And so if I just don't lose my voice, I'll be okay. But it's such a treat to have met you in Tune Cat. And thank you for telling me about the Table Mountain in South Africa. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, track that blue light and healing energy, you know? So when you go and look at pictures online of some of these star seeds, you know, me personally, I get a little creeped out, but if you've already had a sense of what they look like, elongated fingers, the blue light, you know, or taller beings, and you're not afraid for things that don't look human, go for it. Have a great journey and hope you'll consider joining us again on the Ascension Playground. Okay, bye for now. Take care, everybody.